I called him 17 times from a hospital bed. The first 5 calls, I told myself he was in a meeting. The next 5, maybe his phone died. By the 15th call, I was making excuses I didn't believe. By the 17th, I stopped trying to believe anything at all. The nurse came in to check my vitals. Her eyes were kind but careful, the way people look at you when they know you're alone and trying not to show it. "Is someone coming?" she asked. "My husband," I said. He's probably on his way." She nodded. Didn't say anything else. Didn't need to. I'd been admitted 6 hours earlier. Severe abdominal pain. They were running tests. The doctors used words like concerning and we need to monitor you and let's wait for the results before we worry. But I was already worrying. Because pain this bad doesn't come from nothing. And because I was alone in a hospital room at 11 p.m. on a Thursday, and my husband of 6 years hadn't answered a single call. I tried texting instead. "I'm in the hospital. St. Mary's. Room 412. Please come." 3 gray dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Then nothing. I stared at my phone for 20 minutes. Refreshed the screen. Checked if I had signal. Wondered if somehow my message hadn't sent even though it clearly had. That's when I made the mistake of opening social media. I don't know why I did it. Maybe I thought I'd see something that would explain where he was. Maybe I was looking for reassurance that he was okay, that something had happened to him, that there was a reason he wasn't here. What I found was worse than any reason I could have imagined. His Instagram story. Posted 2 hours ago. A sunset. Orange and pink bleeding into an ocean I'd never seen. The kind of photo people take on vacation when they want everyone to know they're somewhere beautiful. The next slide, a dinner table. Expensive looking. Candlelight. 2 wine glasses. The next, a woman's hand holding a tropical drink. Her nails were painted coral. Her wrist had a delicate gold bracelet. I didn't recognize the hand. Didn't recognize the bracelet. Didn't recognize the life my husband was living while I was lying in a hospital bed trying to figure out if I was dying. I scrolled back through his feed. He'd posted earlier that morning. Taking a few days off. Much needed. With a plane emoji. He'd told me it was a work trip. Said his boss needed him to fly out to the Seattle office. Said he'd be back Saturday. This wasn't Seattle. This was a beach. A vacation. With someone who wasn't me. The nurse came back. Saw my face. "Everything okay?" I nodded. Couldn't speak. If I spoke, I'd cry. And if I started crying, I didn't know if I'd be able to stop. She adjusted my four. "The doctor should be back soon with your test results. Try to rest." I couldn't rest. I was staring at my phone. At those photos. At the evidence that my husband had chosen a vacation with someone else over being here while I was sick. Not just sick. Possibly seriously sick. The kind of sick where they admit you and run tests and use words like concerning. And he'd known. I texted him this morning when the pain got bad. Told him I was going to urgent care. He texted back, "Okay. Keep me updated. Love you." Then he'd gotten on a plane. Posted sunset photos. Had dinner with another woman. I called him one more time. 18th call. It rang 4 times. Then went to voicemail. "Hey, this is Marcus. Leave a message." His voice sounded so normal. So casual. Like everything was fine. I didn't leave a message. What would I even say? The doctor came in around midnight. She was young, efficient, kind. "We got your results back," she said, pulling up a chair. "You have a ruptured ovarian cyst. It's causing internal bleeding. Not life-threatening at this stage, but we need to keep you overnight for observation. If the bleeding doesn't stop on its own, we may need to do surgery in the morning." Surgery. The word hit me like cold water. "Is someone here with you?" she asked. "My husband's out of town," I said. The lie came automatically. Easier than admitting he was out of town by choice. That he'd known I was sick and left anyway. "Do you have someone else you can call? A friend? Family member?" I thought about it. My best friend Sarah lived an hour away. My sister was in another state. My parents were retired in Florida. I'm okay, I said. I can manage. The doctor looked at me the way the nurse had. That careful kindness that meant she understood what I wasn't saying. All right. We'll check on you every few hours. Press the call button if you need anything. She left. I was alone again. I looked at my phone. No new messages. No missed calls. I opened Instagram again. He'd posted a new story 20 minutes ago. A video this time. Waves crashing on a beach at night. The woman's voice in the background. It's so beautiful here. Her voice was young. Happy. Carefree. Marcus's laugh in response. Worth the trip, right? Worth the trip. I closed the app. Set my phone face down on the bedside table. Stared at the ceiling of my hospital room and tried to process what was happening. My husband was on vacation with another woman. While I was in the hospital. While I might need surgery. This wasn't an emergency he didn't know about. This wasn't a situation where he couldn't get to me. He'd known. And he'd gone anyway. That realization settled over me slowly. Like cold water filling a room. Rising inch by inch until I couldn't breathe. He'd chosen this. Actively chosen to not be here. And that meant something. Something I didn't want to look at directly but couldn't ignore anymore. I mattered less to him than a vacation with someone else. I'd known our marriage was struggling. We'd been distant lately. Busy with work. Not connecting the way we used to. But I thought we still had something worth fighting for. Thought that when it really mattered, we'd show up for each other. I'd been wrong. The night passed slowly. Nurses came and went. They checked my vitals. Asked about my pain level. Made sure I was stable. But I wasn't stable. Not really. My body was hanging on. My heart was breaking in real time. Around 3 a.m., I tried calling him again. 19th call. Straight to voicemail this time. He'd turned off his phone. I finally cried then. Quietly. So the nurses wouldn't hear. So I wouldn't have to explain. By morning, the bleeding had slowed. The doctor said I could go home later that day. No surgery needed. You got lucky, she said. Lucky. Right. I was being discharged from a hospital my husband never came to. Going home to an empty apartment. Recovering from something that could have been serious, alone. But I was lucky. Because I was alive. Because it wasn't worse. I took an Uber home. Let myself into our apartment. It looked exactly the same. Like nothing had happened. Like my life hadn't just split open. I sat on the couch. Still in the clothes I'd worn to the hospital. Still exhausted. Still hurting. And I opened Instagram one more time. He'd posted a new photo that morning. Him and the woman. Smiling. His arm around her shoulders. The caption. Sometimes you need to get away from it all. Get away from it all. From me. From our marriage. From the responsibility of showing up when things got hard. I stared at that photo for a long time. Then I closed the app. Put my phone down. And made myself a promise. I would never call him again. Never chase him. Never beg him to choose me. Because a man who leaves you alone in a hospital, who knows you're sick and chooses a vacation instead, isn't a man worth keeping. That night didn't end the way I thought it would. But it ended something else. The illusion that I mattered to him. And maybe, somewhere deep down, the illusion that this marriage was something worth saving. I woke up 3 years earlier. Not dramatically. Not with a gasp or a start. Just opened my eyes one Tuesday morning to sunlight streaming through bedroom curtains I donated to Goodwill 2 years ago. I was in our old apartment. The one we'd lived in before the hospital. Before everything fell apart. Marcus was in the shower. I could hear the water running. Could smell his coffee brewing in the kitchen on a timer. My phone was on the nightstand. I picked it up with shaking hands. The date was 3 years earlier. Almost to the day. I sat up slowly. Looked around the room. Everything was exactly as it had been. The crack in the ceiling we'd meant to fix. The stack of books on my side of the bed. The laundry basket in the corner. This wasn't possible. But I was here. And I remembered everything. The hospital. The calls. The photos. The years that came after. I remembered the divorce. The way he'd acted surprised when I finally filed. Like he couldn't understand why I'd leave him after everything. I remembered rebuilding my life piece by piece. Slowly. Painfully. And I remembered dying alone in a different hospital 3 years later. When the cyst came back. When it was worse. When there was no one to call because I'd learned my lesson about calling people who don't show up. But now I was here. 3 years before any of that happened. Healthy. Alive. Married to the same man who would one day walk away when I needed him most. The shower turned off. Marcus came out wrapped in a towel. Saw me sitting up. "You're awake early," he said, smiling. That smile I used to love. "I was going to let you sleep in." I stared at him. This man I'd loved. This man who would betray me in ways I was still processing. "Bad dream?" he asked, coming over to kiss my forehead. I let him. Didn't pull away. Didn't say anything. Because what could I say? How could I explain? "I'm fine," I managed. "Just woke up weird." He got dressed for work. Poured his coffee. Kissed me goodbye like it was any other Tuesday. "Love you," he said at the door. "Love you too," I said automatically. The door closed. I was alone. And I had a choice to make. I could leave. Right now. Pack a bag. File for divorce. Walk away before he had a chance to hurt me again. Part of me wanted that. The part that remembered the hospital. The phone calls. The Instagram photos. But another part of me hesitated. Because memory without proof is just pain. It's just accusations no one would believe. It's just me saying trust me. He's going to hurt you to a version of myself that hasn't been hurt yet. And I wasn't ready to walk away unsure. I needed clarity. Needed to know if it would happen the same way. If given another chance, would he make the same choices? Or was this an opportunity for something different? I spent that day in a fog. Went to work at my marketing job. Sat through meetings. Responded to emails. But my mind was somewhere else. 3 years in the future. In that hospital room. My best friend Sarah noticed at lunch. "You okay? You seem off." "Just tired," I lied. "Marcus keeping you up?" She waggled her eyebrows. Meant it as a joke. I forced a smile. Something like that. That night, Marcus came home late. Said he'd been at drinks with co-workers. In my memories, I knew this was true. He wasn't cheating yet. Not for another year and a half. But he would be. And when I got sick, he'd be somewhere else. "How was your day?" he asked, microwaving leftovers. "Fine. Yours?" Long Johnson's being impossible about the Miller account. I nodded. Let him talk. Watched him move around our kitchen. He looked the same. Acted the same. Was the same person I'd married. Except I knew what he'd become. What he'd choose. And I couldn't unknow it. Over the next few weeks, I watched our life unfold exactly as I remembered. Marcus worked late. I worked my 9 to 5. We had dinners together sometimes. Watched TV. Had conversations that stayed on the surface. We weren't unhappy. Not yet. But we weren't deeply connected either. And I realized something that made my chest tight. We'd been drifting for years before the hospital. The hospital was just when I'd finally noticed. One night, I brought it up. "Do you think we're okay?" I asked. Marcus looked up from his laptop. "What do you mean?" "Us. Our marriage. Do you think we're okay?" He seemed genuinely confused. "Yeah? I mean, we're fine. Why? Are you not happy?" How could I answer that? I was haunted by a future he hadn't lived yet. Angry about things he hadn't done yet. "I just feel like we're not as close as we used to be," I said carefully. "We're just busy. It's normal. Everyone goes through phases like this." He went back to his laptop. Conversation over. And I understood that nothing I said now would change what was coming. Because he didn't see a problem. Didn't think we needed to try harder. He was comfortable. And comfortable people don't change until something forces them to. I made my decision that night. I would stay. Not because I wanted to. But because I needed to see it through. Needed to watch him make the same choices so I'd know, with absolute certainty, who he was. And while I waited, I would prepare. I would build something for myself. Something that didn't depend on him. Something that would still be there when everything else fell apart. The next morning, I researched MBA programs. I'd always thought about going back to school, getting my business degree, moving up in my career. But I'd put it off. Because Marcus and I were saving for a house. Because the timing never felt right. Because he'd said we should wait until we were more financially stable. Now I didn't care about any of that. I applied to 3 programs, evening and weekend classes, so I could keep working full-time. Marcus wasn't thrilled when I told him. That's a big commitment, he said. And it's expensive. Are you sure this is the right time? I'm sure. But we were going to start looking at houses next year. You can still look at houses. I'm getting my MBA. He didn't argue. Just looked disappointed. Like I was being selfish. Like prioritizing my education was somehow a betrayal. I didn't care. Not anymore. I got accepted to 2 of the 3 programs. Chose the better one. Enrolled for the fall semester. And I started preparing for a life that didn't include the man I was still married to. Not because I wanted that life, but because I knew it was coming. And this time, when he left me alone in a hospital room, I'd have somewhere to go. Something to hold on to. Something that was mine and only mine. Independence felt safer than love. So I chose it. Quietly. Deliberately. One decision at a time. The MBA program started in September. I'd been nervous about it. Hadn't been in a classroom in years. Wasn't sure if I could handle the workload on top of my full-time job. But the first night of classes, sitting in that lecture hall with 30 other people who were all trying to level up their careers, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. Not for my marriage. That was already dead in my mind, just waiting for the moment when Marcus would prove it to himself. But hope for me. For what I could build. For who I could become. The coursework was harder than I expected. Financial analysis. Strategic management. Organizational behavior. Concepts I thought I understood turned out to be more complex when you dug into them. I studied every night after work. Weekends. Early mornings before Marcus woke up. He noticed. You're always buried in homework, he said one Saturday when I declined going to his friend's barbecue. I have a presentation Monday. I need to prep. You've been prepping all week. And I want to do well. He sighed. I feel like I never see you anymore. I looked up from my laptop. You're home every night. I'm right here. But you're not really here. You're always working or studying. I'm building something. For us. For our future. That was a lie. I wasn't building it for us. I was building it for me. For the day when there was no us. But I couldn't say that. Not yet. Not until I had proof of what I already knew was coming. Marcus left for the barbecue alone. Came home drunk. Said I was being selfish. Said I'd changed. He was right. I had changed. But not the way he thought. I'd stopped waiting for him to show up. Stopped hoping he'd suddenly become the partner I needed. Stopped investing in a future I knew wouldn't exist. And I'd started investing in myself instead. 3 months into the program, I had my first major presentation. Group project. 5 of us analyzing a failing retail company and proposing a turnaround strategy. I'd been the one to do most of the work. Not because the others didn't contribute, but because I needed it to be perfect. Needed to prove I belonged here. The presentation was in front of our entire class plus 2 adjunct professors who worked in corporate strategy. I'd practiced for weeks. Knew every slide. Every data point. Every rebuttal to potential questions. But when I stood up to present, my mind went blank. I looked out at 40 faces staring at me. Waiting. Expecting. And I froze. My groupmates stepped in. Covered for me. Got us through the presentation. Afterward, in the hallway, one of them, a woman named Jennifer who worked in finance, pulled me aside. You okay? That wasn't like you. I don't know what happened, I said. My hands were still shaking. I knew all of it. I couldn't. It happens. Presentations are hard. Not for me. I present at work all the time. This is different. This matters more. She was right. It mattered more because I needed it to matter more. Because this wasn't just about a grade. It was about building a life raft before the ship went down. And I'd almost failed. We got a B+ on the project. Good but not great. The professors noted in their feedback that the presentation was uneven. I went home and cried in the bathroom. Marcus was already asleep. Didn't notice. That was the first time I really questioned if I could do this. The MBA program was supposed to be my escape route. My backup plan. But what if I couldn't handle it? What if I wasn't good enough? I almost quit that night. Almost withdrew from the program. Almost gave up on the whole idea of building something for myself. But then I thought about that hospital room. About calling Marcus 17 times. About the Instagram photos of him with someone else. About dying alone because I'd learned not to call anyone at all. And I realized, failing at this would hurt. But failing to try would destroy me. So I didn't quit. I signed up for a public speaking workshop. Practiced presentations every night in front of my mirror. Volunteered to present more often in my other classes, even when I didn't have to. Slowly, it got easier. Not easy, just easier. 6 months into the program, I applied for a promotion at work. Senior Marketing Manager. A position that had just opened up. Better pay. More responsibility. A team to manage. I'd been in my current role for 4 years. I was overqualified if anything. My boss had been hinting I should apply. I prepared for the interview like I was defending a dissertation. Researched the company's strategic goals. Prepared case studies. Had answers ready for every question they might ask. The interview was with the VP of Marketing and the Director of HR. I thought it went well. I was articulate. Confident. Showed them data on campaigns I'd led. Talked about my vision for the team. 2 weeks later, I got the rejection email. We've decided to move forward with another candidate. We appreciate your interest and encourage you to apply for future opportunities. I read that email 3 times, sitting at my desk at work, surrounded by people who didn't know I'd just been passed over. The next day, I found out who got the job. A guy named Derek who'd been with the company for 2 years. Less experienced than me. But he was friends with the VP. Played golf with him on weekends. That's how it worked. Not merit. Connections. I went home that night and told Marcus. They gave the promotion to Derek. That sucks. But there'll be other opportunities. I was qualified. I was the best candidate. Sometimes these things just don't work out. He went back to scrolling on his phone. Didn't ask how I was feeling. Didn't seem to notice I was crushed. I went to the bedroom. Lay on the bed fully clothed. Stared at the ceiling. This was the second major failure in 6 months. The presentation. The promotion. Maybe I wasn't as capable as I thought. Maybe I was fooling myself thinking I could build something significant. Maybe I should just accept that this was my life. This marriage. This job. This ceiling I couldn't break through. I fell asleep like that. Woke up at 3 a.m. Marcus was snoring next to me. And I made a decision. I wasn't quitting. Not the MBA. Not my career. Not myself. But I needed to be smarter. Needed to understand how the game was actually played. I started networking. Intentionally. Strategically. Went to industry events. Joined professional organizations. Connected with people on LinkedIn not just to collect contacts but to build actual relationships. I had coffee with people who worked in roles I wanted. Asked them how they got there. What they wish they'd known sooner. One of them, a woman named Patricia who was VP at a tech company, told me something that stuck with me. Nobody's going to hand you anything. You have to take it. And you have to make them see you as someone who deserves to take it. How do I do that? You make yourself undeniable. You do work so good they can't ignore you. You build a reputation that precedes you. And you don't wait for permission to step up. You just step up and make them adjust. I thought about that conversation for weeks. Make myself undeniable. I started taking on projects at work that weren't in my job description. Volunteered for the stuff no one else wanted. The difficult clients. The impossible deadlines. The campaigns that were struggling. I stayed late, came in early, worked weekends. Marcus complained that I was never around. This is important, I said. More important than your marriage. I almost laughed. Because yes, it was more important than a marriage that was already over. But I couldn't say that. I'm trying to advance my career. Can you support that? I'm trying to. But you're never here. And when you are here, you're exhausted and stressed. Then help me. Make dinner sometimes. Do the laundry. Take some of the household stuff off my plate. I work too. So do I, plus I'm getting my MBA. Plus I'm trying to prove I'm worth promoting. So yes, I'm stretched thin. But I don't have a choice. He looked at me like I was being unreasonable. Like asking him to do an equal share was somehow asking too much. That was the moment I realized, even if I hadn't known about the future, even if there was no hospital room or Instagram photos in my memory, this marriage was already dying. Because he wanted a wife who stayed small, who didn't ask for too much, who made his life easier without making her own life harder. And I couldn't be that person anymore. A year into my MBA program, I took the hardest class of the entire curriculum, Advanced Financial Strategy. The professor was notorious. Dr. Hammond. She failed half her students. Expected perfection. Gave no partial credit. I was terrified of her class. But I needed it to graduate. And more than that, I needed to prove I could handle the hard stuff. The final project was a 50-page financial analysis of a publicly traded company, complete with recommendations for restructuring. I chose a struggling healthcare company, spent 3 months on that paper, analyzed every financial statement, every quarterly report, built models, ran scenarios. I pulled all-nighters, drank so much coffee I gave myself heart palpitations, lost 10 pounds from stress. Marcus said I looked sick, said I was taking it too seriously, said it was just school, just a grade, not worth killing myself over. He didn't understand. This wasn't about a grade. This was about proving I could do hard things, that I could push through when it got difficult, that I could succeed even when the odds were against me. I turned in that paper on the last possible day. 53 pages. Every citation perfect. Every argument airtight. And then I waited. Dr. Hammond took 3 weeks to grade final projects. 3 weeks of not knowing if I'd passed or failed. I checked my email obsessively. Couldn't focus on anything else. Finally, the email came. Grade posted. See course portal. I opened the portal with shaking hands. A+. Not just a pass. The highest grade she gave. There was a note attached. Exceptional work. You have a future in strategic analysis if you choose to pursue it. I read that note 5 times. Then I closed my laptop, went to the bathroom, and cried. Not from relief. From exhaustion. From the bone-deep tiredness of carrying all of this alone. Marcus wasn't home. He'd been working late a lot recently. I didn't ask where he was anymore. Didn't care. I was building my life raft. Piece by piece. Grade by grade. One small victory at a time. And it was working. Slowly. Painfully. But working. 2 years into my MBA program, another promotion opened up at work. Director of Marketing. A step above Senior Manager. A significant jump. I'd been doing director-level work for the past year without the title or the pay. Everyone knew it. This time, I didn't just apply. I walked into my boss's office and told him I wanted it. I've been preparing for this role for 2 years, I said. I've led every major campaign we've run in the last 18 months. I've brought in 3 new clients. I've mentored the junior staff. I've earned this. My boss looked surprised. I'd never been this direct before. You're absolutely right, he said. I'll recommend you to the VP. The interview process was longer this time. 3 rounds. Presentations. Case studies. Interviews with executives I'd never met. But I was ready. More ready than I'd ever been for anything. I got the promotion. Director of Marketing. A title I'd earned. A salary that finally reflected my worth. Marcus said congratulations when I told him. But he didn't seem happy. Seemed almost resentful. That's a lot of responsibility, he said. I can handle it. I know you can. It's just, I feel like we're growing apart. I looked at him. This man I'd loved once. This man who would leave me in a hospital. Maybe we are, I said quietly. He looked shocked. Like he'd expected me to reassure him. To say we weren't. To promise we'd work on it. But I was too tired to lie. I was 2.5 years into my second chance. 6 months away from when I'd get sick. And I was almost ready. I knew when it would happen. Late April. I'd be at work. Sharp pain in my lower abdomen. Bad enough to make me leave early. In my first life, I'd ignored it for 3 days before going to urgent care. By then, the cyst had ruptured and I'd needed emergency surgery. This time, I went to the doctor the same day. I'm having severe abdominal pain, I told my GP. Lower right side. I think it might be ovarian. She ordered an ultrasound immediately. They found it. A cyst on my right ovary. Large. Close to rupturing. We need to schedule surgery, the doctor said. This needs to come out before it causes complications. How soon? Within the week if possible. I scheduled it for 3 days later. Took medical leave from work. Called Sarah to be my emergency contact. And then I went home and told Marcus. I need surgery, I said. This Friday. They found a cyst. It's serious. He looked up from his laptop. How serious? Serious enough that they want it out now. Okay. I'll take the day off. Drive you to the hospital. Thank you. That night, I watched him. Tried to see if he was worried. If he cared. He seemed distracted. Kept checking his phone. Said he had a big project at work. I might need to travel next week, he said. Johnson wants me to fly out to the new office in Austin. Check on the team there. Next week. Right when I'd be recovering. Can you postpone it? I asked. I'll need help after surgery. I'll see. But it might not be possible. It's an important trip. In my first life, that trip had been to a beach. With a woman named Melissa from his office. This time, I didn't know if it would be the same. If given this second chance, he'd make the same choice. Part of me hoped he wouldn't. Hoped he'd surprise me. Prove my memories wrong. But I prepared for the other possibility. The surgery went smoothly. Laparoscopic. 3 small incisions. The cyst removed. Clean margins. No complications. I woke up in recovery. Sarah was there. You did great, she said. Doctor says everything went well. Where's Marcus? She hesitated. He had to take a call. Work thing. He stepped out. I closed my eyes. How long ago? About 20 minutes. I'd been out of surgery for 30 minutes. And he'd already left. He came back an hour later. Apologized. Said it was an emergency call he couldn't miss. How are you feeling? He asked. Tired. So. The doctor said you can go home this afternoon. I'll drive you. He did. Got me settled on the couch. Made sure I had my pain medication. Brought me water. Then his phone rang. I have to take this, he said, stepping into the other room. I heard him through the wall. Yeah, I know. I'm planning on it. Just need to make sure she's settled first. A pause. Probably Sunday. I'll book the flight tonight. Another pause. Then a laugh. I miss you too. I closed my eyes. Let the pain medication pull me under. When I woke up, Marcus was sitting next to me. Hey, he said. How are you feeling? Same. What was the call? Work. About the Austin trip. They need me there Sunday. Sunday. I'll be 4 days post-op. I know. But Sarah said she can check on you. And you'll be mostly recovered by then, right? Mostly isn't fully. I know. But this trip is important. I can't postpone it. I looked at him. Really looked at him. Who were you talking to? I asked. What? On the phone. You said I miss you too. Who misses you? His face went carefully blank. Johnson. He was joking around. You know how he is. I didn't believe him, but I was too tired to push. Fine. Go to Austin. You sure? I'm sure. That night, I couldn't sleep. The pain medication made me foggy but not unconscious. I listened to Marcus in the other room, on his laptop, typing, clicking, then his voice, low. Another call. I can't wait either. Just a few more days. I got up slowly, walked to the doorway. Marcus was on his laptop. A video call. The screen angled away from me but I could hear a woman's voice. I got us a suite. Ocean view. Marcus laughed. You're the best. How's your wife? She's fine. Recovering. Sarah's going to check on her while I'm gone. Good. I'd feel bad if she was alone. She won't be. And honestly, she's been so focused on work and school lately, I don't think she'll even notice I'm gone. The woman laughed. Then I guess we have nothing to feel guilty about. I stepped back. Before he could see me. Before I could hear more. Went back to the couch. Lay down. Stared at the ceiling. And I realized, even given another chance, he was making the exact same choices. The trip wasn't to Austin. It was to a beach. With a woman he was clearly involved with. And he was leaving me 4 days post-op to do it. I could confront him. Could tell him I knew. Could stop this now. But I didn't want to stop it. I wanted him to do it. To leave. To prove who he was. Because this time, I'd have witnesses. Documentation. Proof. I called Sarah the next morning. Can you come over? I asked. Of course. Everything okay? I need to talk to you about something. She came within an hour. Found me on the couch, still recovering, looking exhausted. What's going on? She asked. Marcus is leaving tomorrow. Said it's a work trip to Austin. Okay. It's not a work trip. He's going to a beach with another woman. I heard him on a call last night. Sarah's face went hard. Are you serious? Completely. And I need you to help me document this. I need proof. Claire, you just had surgery. You shouldn't be dealing with this right now. I need to deal with it now. Before he gets back. Before he has time to make excuses. She was quiet for a moment. Then, what do you need? I need you to be here when he leaves. I need you to witness that he's leaving me alone while I'm recovering. I need screenshots of his social media if he posts anything. And I need you to stay with me so I have proof that I wasn't okay being alone. You're building a case. Yes. For what? Divorce. I nodded. Sarah sat down next to me. How long have you known? Long enough. She didn't ask more. Just squeezed my hand. I'll help. Whatever you need. Marcus left Sunday morning. Sarah came over an hour after he left. Documented the state of the apartment. The medication bottles. My recovery instructions from the doctor that said I needed someone with me for at least a week. She took photos. Dated them. Saved them to a secure folder. He's really doing this, she said. Leaving you 4 days post-surgery. He really is. That afternoon, Marcus posted on Instagram. A beach. Palm trees. Sunset. The caption. Sometimes you need a break. Sarah showed me. I looked at it without emotion. Do you want me to say something to him? She asked. No. Let him have his trip. Let him think I don't know. Why? Because when he gets back, I'm filing for divorce. And I want every single piece of evidence of exactly who he is. I spent that week recovering. Sarah stayed with me. Brought me food. Helped me shower. Made sure I was taking my medications. We watched Marcus's Instagram stories. Every post. Every update. The beach. The dinners. The woman's hand in several photos. Her laugh in videos. I can't believe him, Sarah kept saying. I can't believe he's posting this while you're recovering from surgery. I could believe it. Because I'd seen it before. The only difference was this time. I wasn't calling him. Wasn't desperately trying to reach him. Wasn't wondering why he wasn't here. I knew why. And I was done wondering. Marcus came home the following Saturday. Tan. Relaxed. Happy. How are you feeling? He asked, dropping his bag by the door. Better. Sarah took good care of me. Good. I'm glad. Sorry I couldn't be here. It's fine. He looked relieved. Like he'd expected a fight and was grateful not to get one. How was Austin? I asked. Good. Productive. The team there is doing well. I saw your Instagram. Didn't look like Austin. He froze for just a second, then laughed. Oh, I stopped at a beach on the way back. Needed to decompress after a long week. Right. That makes sense. He visibly relaxed. Thought I'd believed him. I let him think that. Because in 2 weeks, I'd be meeting with a divorce attorney. And in 3 weeks, Marcus would understand exactly what it costs to leave someone alone when they're fighting for their life. The week after Marcus came back, I went to see a lawyer. Her name was Andrea Chen. She specialized in divorce cases involving infidelity and abandonment. Sarah had recommended her. She's fierce. And she actually cares about her clients. I sat in Andrea's office and told her everything. The surgery. The trip. The phone call I'd overheard. The Instagram posts. I showed her the documentation. Photos of my recovery state. My doctor's notes saying I needed care. Evidence that Marcus had left anyway. Andrea listened carefully. Took notes. Asked clarifying questions. Do you want to file for divorce? She asked when I finished. Yes. On what grounds? Abandonment. Emotional neglect. I don't know what the legal term is, but he left me alone 4 days after surgery. That has to count for something. It does. Especially with documentation. But Claire, I need to ask, are you sure about this? Marriage is hard. People make mistakes. Is there any chance you want to try counseling first? I thought about how to answer that. If I told her the truth, that I'd lived this before, that I knew exactly how it ended, she'd think I was unstable. So I said, I'm sure. This isn't the first time he's chosen something else over me. It's just the first time I've had proof. Andrea nodded. Okay. Then here's what we'll do. I'll draft divorce papers. You can serve them whenever you're ready. Given the circumstances, medical recovery, his absence during a critical time, I think we can make a strong case for you retaining a significant portion of shared assets if you have them. We don't have much. An apartment. Some savings. Nothing complicated. That makes it simpler. Do you want spousal support? No. I have my own income. I just want out. Then this should be straightforward. I left her office with copies of documents to sign, papers to review, a timeline for how this would unfold. And for the first time in 3 years, I felt something close to relief. I was almost free. But first, I had to get through the next few weeks. Keep pretending everything was normal. Keep living with a man I was about to divorce. It was harder than I'd expected. Marcus was being extra attentive. Like the trip had refreshed him. Like he was ready to be a good husband again. He made dinner. Asked about my day. Suggested we watch a movie together. It would have been sweet if I didn't know it was temporary. If I didn't know that the moment I became inconvenient again, he'd disappear. You seem different, he said one night. Different how? I don't know. Quieter. More distant. I almost laughed. I'd been distant for 3 years. He was just noticing now. I'm fine, I said. Just focused on work. You're always focused on work. It's important to me. I know. But we're important too, right? Us. I looked at him. Wanted to ask. Were we important when you left me alone after surgery? Were we important when you took a vacation with another woman? Were we important when I was dying and you wouldn't answer my calls? But I didn't. Because he hadn't lived that last part yet. And I couldn't explain it without sounding insane. Of course, I said instead. He seemed satisfied with that. Went back to his laptop. I finished my MBA program 3 weeks later. Graduation was on a Saturday. My parents flew in. Sarah came. A few colleagues from work. Marcus came too. Sat in the audience. Clapped when I walked across the stage. Afterward, my mom hugged me. I'm so proud of you. I know how hard you worked for this. My dad shook my hand. What's next? You're going to take over the world now. I laughed. Maybe. We'll see. Marcus took photos. Posted one on Instagram. So proud of my brilliant wife. The comments were full of heart emojis. Congratulations. You two are so cute together. If only they knew. We went to dinner. My parents, Sarah, Marcus, and me, celebrated at an Italian restaurant my dad loved. I should have been happy. I'd earned this degree. Finished something I'd started. Proved I could do hard things. But all I felt was tired. Tired of pretending. Tired of performing. Tired of living in this in-between space where I knew the truth but couldn't act on it yet. After dinner, my parents went back to their hotel. Sarah gave me a look. Are you okay? And I nodded. Marcus and I went home. That was nice, he said. Your parents are proud of you. Yeah. I'm proud of you too. I know I haven't always been supportive, but I am. I hope you know that. I didn't know how to respond, because too little, too late were the only words that came to mind. Thank you, I said instead. He kissed my forehead. I love you, Claire. I love you too, I lied. The next morning, I called Andrea. I'm ready to file. You're sure? Completely. Okay. I'll have the papers drawn up by Wednesday. How do you want to serve them? In person. I want to be there when he gets them. That's unusual. Most people prefer to have a process server do it. It's less confrontational. I know, but I need to be there. All right. I'll arrange it. Wednesday came. Andrea sent a process server to my apartment at 6 p.m. Marcus was home. I'd made sure of it. The doorbell rang. Marcus answered it. Marcus Hayes. Yes. You've been served. The man handed Marcus an envelope. Turned and left. Marcus stood there, confused. Opened the envelope. I watched from across the room as he read the first page. His face went white. Claire, what is this? Divorce papers. I can see that. Why am I holding divorce papers? Because I'm divorcing you. He stared at me like I'd grown a second head. You're joking. I'm not. But, we're fine. We've been fine. What are you talking about? We're not fine, Marcus. We haven't been fine for a long time. If you were unhappy, you should have said something. We could have gone to counseling. Worked on it. I did say something. Multiple times. You didn't want to hear it. When? When did you say something? 2 years ago. When I started my MBA. You said I was being selfish. Last year when I asked if we were okay. You said everyone goes through phases. 3 months ago when I had surgery and you left me alone to go on vacation with another woman. His face went even whiter. I was in Austin. No, you weren't. You were at a beach. With Melissa. I heard your call with her before you left. I saw the Instagram posts. I have documentation of everything. He sank onto the couch. Clay. You left me 4 days after surgery. I needed you there and you chose a vacation instead. With someone you're cheating on me with. I'm not cheating. Don't lie to me. Not now. I have proof. Phone records. Social media. Witness statements. Lying will only make this worse. He put his head in his hands. I didn't mean for it to happen. But it did. And you left me alone while I was recovering from surgery to be with her. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. I'm sorry. I was wrong. But we can work through this. Please don't do this. I sat down across from him. Looked at this man I'd loved once. Marcus, I need you to understand something. This isn't about Melissa. This is about you. About the kind of person you are. You're the kind of person who leaves when things get hard. Who chooses his own comfort over showing up for the people who need him. And I can't be married to that person anymore. I'll change. I'll be better. Just give me another chance. No. Claire, please. The papers are filed. I've moved half our savings to a separate account. I'll be moving out at the end of the month. You can keep the apartment. I don't want it. Where are you going to go? I have options. He looked broken, devastated. Part of me felt bad. The part that remembered loving him. The part that remembered when things were good between us. But a bigger part of me felt nothing. Because I'd already mourned this marriage. In another timeline. In another life. This was just making it official. Marcus tried for the next 2 weeks. Called me at work. Sent flowers. Left notes. Begged me to reconsider. I didn't engage. Just forwarded everything to Andrea. He's making this difficult, she said. But we'll get through it. I know. I moved into a small 1-bedroom apartment closer to my work. Took only what was mine. Left him the furniture, the dishes, the life we'd built together. I didn't want any of it. The divorce was finalized 4 months later. Quick by most standards. Marcus didn't contest anything. Didn't fight for assets or argue about terms. I think he knew he couldn't win. Not with the evidence I had. On the day it was final, Andrea called me. Congratulations. You're officially divorced. Thank you. For everything. You did the hard part. I just handled the paperwork. I hung up and sat in my new apartment. Quiet. Alone. Free. And I realized, I'd been preparing for this moment for 3 years. Had known it was coming. Had built my entire life around surviving it. Now it was here. And I had no idea what came next. 6 months after my divorce was finalized, I got a call from a recruiter. Claire Hayes. It's Brooks now. I went back to my maiden name. My apologies. Claire Brooks. My name is Jennifer Martinez. I'm a recruiter for Vertex Solutions. I saw your profile on LinkedIn and wanted to reach out about a position we're trying to fill. Vertex Solutions. A mid-sized tech company. Growing fast. Good reputation. What position? I asked. Vice President of Operations. It's a newly created role. They're looking for someone with your background, marketing experience, strategic thinking, MBA. Would you be interested in learning more? Vice President. 2 levels above where I currently was. I'm interested, I said. Great. When are you available for a preliminary call? We scheduled it for the next day. I hung up and sat very still. Trying to process. VP of Operations. At a company I'd never worked for. A role I hadn't applied for. This wasn't something I'd been chasing. It had found me. The preliminary call went well. Jennifer walked me through the role. The company. The expectations. They're looking for someone who can come in and streamline operations across 3 departments. Someone who can see the big picture and implement strategy. Someone who can lead without micromanaging. Why me? I asked. I'm sure there are more qualified candidates. Your LinkedIn profile caught our CEO's eye. She was impressed by your trajectory. The way you've moved up while getting your MBA. The projects you've led. You have a reputation for getting things done. A reputation. I'd been building it without realizing it. Every late night. Every difficult project. Every time I'd said yes when I wanted to say no. It had added up to something. I'd like to move forward, I said. The interview process took 6 weeks. 3 rounds. Presentations. Case studies. Meetings with executives I'd never met. But I'd done this before. For my director role. I knew how to prepare. How to present. How to show them I was worth taking a chance on. The final interview was with the CEO. A woman named Diana Wu. 50-something. Sharp. Intimidating. She didn't waste time on small talk. Tell me why you want this role. I'd prepared an answer. Something about growth opportunity. About believing in the company's mission. About being ready for the next challenge. But sitting across from her, I decided to tell the truth. I want this role because I've spent the last 3 years building myself into someone who can handle it. Not because I had some grand plan. but because I needed to prove I could do hard things, that I could rebuild after everything fell apart. And this role feels like the culmination of that work. Diana studied me. Everything fell apart. I went through a divorce recently. During that time, I got my MBA, earned 2 promotions, and learned that I'm capable of a lot more than I thought I was. A lot of people use divorce as an excuse to coast. You did the opposite. Coasting wasn't an option. I needed to move forward or I'd have drowned. She nodded slowly. I like that answer. Most candidates tell me what they think I want to hear. You told me the truth. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's a good thing. I don't want someone who's going to tell me what I want to hear. I want someone who's going to tell me what I need to hear, even when it's uncomfortable. The interview ended. I left feeling uncertain, like I'd either nailed it or completely blown it. 2 weeks later, Jennifer called. They want to offer you the position. I sat down. Suddenly, like my legs couldn't hold me. They do. Yes. Pending background check and references. But Diana was impressed. Said you were exactly what they were looking for. What's the salary? She told me. It was 40% more than I was currently making. Plus equity. Plus bonuses tied to company performance. When would I start? They'd like you in 2 weeks if possible. I know that's fast. I can do 2 weeks. Really? Really? I hung up and sat in my apartment. Quiet. Trying to process what had just happened. Vice President of Operations. Not a title I'd been chasing. Not a role I thought I was ready for. But here it was. Offered to me. Because I'd done the work. Because I'd built a reputation. Because I'd made myself undeniable. I called Sarah. I got the job. The VP role? Claire, that's amazing. I know. I can't believe it. I can. You've been working toward this for years. She was right. I had been. Without even meaning to. Every decision I'd made since waking up 3 years earlier had been building to this. Every class. Every late night. Every rejection I'd pushed through. It had all added up to this moment. I gave my notice at my current job the next day. My boss was disappointed but understanding. I knew we'd lose you eventually, he said. You've been operating at a VP level for a year. You deserve the title. My last 2 weeks were a blur. Transitioning projects. Training my replacement. Saying goodbye to colleagues I'd worked with for years. And preparing. Reading everything I could about Vertex Solutions. Understanding their culture. Their challenges. Their opportunities. I started on a Monday in November. Diana met me in the lobby. Welcome to Vertex. Ready to jump in? Ready. She walked me to my office. Corner office. Big windows. A view of the city. This is yours. IT will get you set up this morning. I want you to spend your first week meeting with all the department heads. Understanding what's working and what's not. Then we'll talk strategy. Sounds good. One more thing. She paused at the door. I don't expect you to have all the answers right away. I expect you to ask good questions. To listen. To build relationships. The answers will come from that. I can do that. I know you can. That's why you're here. She left. I sat at my desk. In my office. With my title. Vice President of Operations. I'd done it. Actually done it. Not perfectly. Not easily. But I'd done it. And I realized, this was what I'd been working toward. Not revenge. Not proving anything to Marcus. Just this. Building something that was mine. Earning something I could be proud of. That night, I went home to my small apartment. Ordered takeout. Sat on my second-hand couch. And for the first time in 3 years, I felt like I could breathe. 3 months into my VP role, I was reviewing departmental budgets when I came across something that made me pause. A consulting contract with Marcus's company. His firm had been doing IT consulting work for Vertex for 2 years. The contract was up for renewal. I stared at his name on the paperwork. Senior Project Manager. The role he'd had when we were married. He hadn't advanced, hadn't moved up, was in the same position he'd been in 3 years ago. Meanwhile, I was now the person who would decide whether his company kept this contract. The irony wasn't lost on me. I could cancel it, find another vendor. It would be justified. I was supposed to review all contracts for cost-effectiveness anyway. But that felt petty. And I'd promised myself I wasn't building this career out of pettiness. I called a meeting with the IT director instead. Tell me about the consulting contract with Hayes Tech Solutions. They've been good. Responsive. Know our systems. Why? Just doing my due diligence. Reviewing all major contracts. Is there anything you'd want to see improved? Honestly, their lead project manager used to be great. Marcus Hayes. But lately he's been inconsistent. Misses deadlines. Sometimes doesn't respond to emails for days. We've had to escalate a few issues. I made notes. Has this been documented? Some of it. We've been trying to work with him. But if it doesn't improve, we might need to consider other options. Keep documenting. If his performance doesn't improve within 60 days, we'll discuss alternatives. It was fair. Professional. What I'd do with any underperforming vendor. The fact that it was Marcus was irrelevant. Or I told myself it was. 2 weeks later, I got an email from Marcus. The subject line, "Can we talk?" I stared at it for a full minute before opening it. Claire, I heard through a colleague that you're working at Vertex now. As VP of Operations. That's incredible. I always knew you'd do something big with your career. I know we haven't talked since the divorce. I've respected your space. But I was hoping we could have coffee sometime. Clear the air. I've been doing a lot of thinking about us. About what went wrong. About how I could have been better. I'm not asking to get back together. I just want to talk. To apologize properly. To tell you I understand now how badly I messed up. If you're willing, let me know. Marcus. I read it twice. Then closed my laptop. Sarah called that night. She called every few days to check in. How's the new job? She asked. Good. Challenging. But good. You sound tired. I am. But it's a good tired. Liar. What's wrong? I told her about the email. He wants to apologize, she said flatly. That's what he says. Are you going to meet him? I don't know. Part of me wants to. Just to close that chapter. And the other part? The other part knows he only wants to apologize because I'm successful now. If I was still where I was 3 years ago, he wouldn't care. You're probably right. I know I'm right. He didn't apologize when I filed for divorce. Didn't apologize during the proceedings. Only now, when he found out I'm his company's client contact, does he want to talk. So don't talk to him. You don't owe him anything. She was right. I didn't. But I also realized I needed closure. Not for him. For me. I replied to his email. Marcus. I can meet for coffee. Tuesday at 3 p.m. Starbucks on 5th Street. 1 hour only. Claire. Professional. Brief. No warmth but no hostility either. He replied within minutes. Thank you. I'll be there. Tuesday came. I dressed carefully. Professional. Like I was going to a business meeting, not meeting my ex-husband. Because that's what this was. Business. Marcus was already there when I arrived. Sitting at a corner table. He looked older. Tired. His hair had more gray. His face had new lines. Claire. Thank you for coming. I sat down. Didn't order anything. You have 1 hour. Right. Okay. He took a breath. I wanted to apologize. For everything. For the affair. For leaving you after your surgery. For not being the husband you deserved. Okay. I've been in therapy. Working on myself. Understanding why I did what I did. And I realize now how selfish I was. How much I took you for granted. Is that all? No. I also wanted to say I'm proud of you. For what you've accomplished. For your career. You always had so much potential. I'm glad you're finally getting recognized for it. I almost laughed. I've always had this potential, Marcus. It was always there. You just never noticed because it didn't serve you to notice. That's fair. You're right. Is this why you wanted to meet? To apologize and tell me you're proud? Partly. I wanted to know if there's any chance we could be friends. Not now. But eventually. Once enough time has passed. No. He looked surprised. No. No. We're not going to be friends. We're going to be civil professionals who occasionally interact because of business. But that's it. Clay. You left me alone after surgery to go on vacation with another woman. You chose your comfort over my recovery. That's not something I forgive. Not because I'm holding a grudge, but because I've learned that some people show you exactly who they are, and believing them the first time is healthier than giving them chances to hurt you again. I've changed. Maybe you have, but I don't need to find out. I've built a life without you. A good life. And I'm not interested in letting you back into it in any capacity beyond professional courtesy. He was quiet for a long time. I understand. Good. For what it's worth, I really am sorry, and I really do hope you're happy. I am. Happier than I was when we were married. That landed. I could see it hit him. I should go, I said, standing up. I have a meeting. I didn't. But I'd said what I needed to say. Claire, wait. One more thing. I stopped. There's been some talk about our contract with Vertex. About my performance. I know you probably have input on whether it gets renewed. There it was. The real reason he'd wanted to meet. I do. I want you to know I'm working on improving. Meeting deadlines. Being more responsive. I know I've been slipping. You should talk to your IT director contact about that. Not me. I just wanted you to know I'm taking it seriously. That's between you and your client. My personal history with you doesn't factor into business decisions. But if you want the contract renewed, earn it. Do the work. Deliver quality. That's how business works. I left before he could say anything else. In my car, I sat for a moment. Processing. That had felt anticlimactic. I'd expected to feel something. Anger. Satisfaction. Something. Instead, I just felt tired. Tired of carrying this. Of thinking about it. Of letting it take up space in my mind. Marcus wasn't worth that space anymore. The next week, I reviewed the IT consulting contracts with Diana. Hayes Tech Solutions has been underperforming, I said. But they've committed to improving. I recommend we give them 60 days to demonstrate improvement. If they do, we renew. If they don't, we go to competitive bid. Sounds fair. Any conflicts of interest I should know about? I hesitated. Then, the lead project manager is my ex-husband. Diana raised an eyebrow. Awkward. Yes, but I'm evaluating this contract the same way I'd evaluate any other. Based on performance, not personal history. Good. That's the right approach. 60 days later, Marcus had improved. Not dramatically, but enough to meet the minimum standards. I recommended renewal. Because it was the right business decision. And because I needed to prove to myself that I could separate personal from professional. That I could be objective. That I'd really moved past this. The contract was renewed. For 1 year. With performance metrics attached. Marcus sent me an email. Thank you for being fair. I know I didn't deserve it. I didn't respond. Didn't need to. I'd done what needed to be done. Professionally. Fairly. And now I could let it go. A year after joining Vertex, I was leading a team of 40 people across 3 departments. Operations. Strategy. Process improvement. With streamlined workflows. Cut costs by 20%. Increased efficiency metrics across the board. Diana called me into her office one day. We're creating a new C-suite position. Chief Operating Officer. You're the obvious choice. I'm on it. But I'm not ready. She looked surprised. You're not. I've been in this role for a year. I'm still learning. Still building relationships. Still figuring out how to lead at this scale. If I move up too fast, I'll fail. And I don't want to fail. Most people would jump at the promotion. I know. But I'm not most people. I've learned that sustainable success is better than rapid advancement. I want to earn the next role. Not just accept it because it's offered. Diana smiled. That's exactly why you'll be ready when the time comes. Not many people have that kind of self-awareness. We agreed I'd stay in my current role for another year. Build more. Prove more. Then we'd revisit the COO position. I wasn't in a hurry. Not anymore. I'd spent 3 years racing towards something. Building a life raft. Trying to prove I was worth something. Now I could slow down. Breathe. Actually enjoy what I'd built. I started mentoring younger women at the company. Especially the ones going through hard times. There was a woman named Angela in the marketing department. She just separated from her husband. Was trying to manage work while dealing with divorce proceedings. Kept apologizing for being distracted. I pulled her aside one day. Stop apologizing, I said. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I just feel like I'm not performing at my best right now. You're going through a divorce. You're not supposed to be at your best. You're supposed to be surviving. And you're doing that. That's enough. But my work. Your work is fine. Better than fine. You're meeting all your deadlines. Delivering quality. What you're not doing is going above and beyond. And that's okay. You don't have to go above and beyond right now. She looked like she might cry. Thank you for understanding. I've been where you are. I know what it's like to try to hold it together professionally while your personal life is falling apart. Give yourself grace. The work will still be here when you're ready to focus on it fully. She did. And 3 months later, when her divorce was final, she came to my office. I wanted to thank you for not making me feel like I had to choose between surviving my divorce and keeping my job. You never had to choose. Both were important. Both were valid. Most bosses wouldn't see it that way. Then they're not very good bosses. I made it a policy after that. Any employee going through a major life crisis, divorce, illness, loss, got flexibility, support, understanding. Not because I was soft, but because I knew what it was like to go through hard things alone. And I had the power now to make sure no one on my team had to do that. It wasn't about being nice. It was about being human. Sarah noticed the change in me. You seem lighter, she said over dinner one night. Lighter how? Less burdened. Like you've put something down. I think I have. Marcus. Yeah. I saw him a while back. He wanted to apologize. To see if we could be friends. And I said no. And I realized I didn't feel angry anymore. Didn't feel anything, really. He's just someone I used to know. Someone who made choices that hurt me. But I'm not hurt anymore. I've moved past it. Sarah smiled. That's growth. It is. And it feels good. I'd also started dating again. Nothing serious. Just coffee with people I met through work or friends. Testing the waters. Seeing what it felt like to let someone new in. There was a guy named Daniel. Civil engineer. Kind. Funny. Emotionally available in ways Marcus never was. We'd been seeing each other for 3 months. Taking it slow. No pressure. I like you, he said one night after dinner. I like you too. But I feel like you're holding back. Like you're waiting for me to mess up. He wasn't wrong. I went through a bad divorce, I said. It left me cautious. I understand. But Claire, I'm not him. Whoever hurt you. I'm not that person. I know. Intellectually I know that. But emotionally I'm still working on it. Take your time. I'm not going anywhere. That meant more to me than he probably realized. 2 years after joining Vertex, Diana offered me the COO position again. This time, I said yes. Not because I needed the title. Not because I was trying to prove anything. But because I was ready. Because I'd done the work. Because I'd built the foundation. I'm not a CEO. Maybe I never will be. And that stopped mattering somewhere along the way. What matters is that I built something. Not out of anger or desperation, but out of determination. Out of the belief that I deserved better than what I'd accepted before. What matters is that I don't disappear when life gets hard anymore. I show up. For myself. For my team. For the people who need someone to believe in them. I support women at work going through illness, divorce, fear. Women who are trying to hold it together while everything falls apart. I don't save them. I can't. No one could have saved me. I had to save myself. But I make sure they aren't alone. That they have support. That they know it's possible to rebuild after everything burns down. Because I did it. Piece by piece. Grade by grade. Promotion by promotion. I rebuilt my life not because I wanted revenge. Not because I wanted to prove something to Marcus. But because I needed to prove something to myself. That I was capable. That I was strong. That I could survive the worst and still build something worth having. He left me when I was fighting for my life. I was given another chance. And I used it to rebuild my career, my confidence, my entire sense of self. And to let go of them both, the man who left me, and the woman who would have accepted that. I didn't rebuild my life to win. I rebuilt it so I could finally rest. And now I can.